Gentleman yields back, and the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Timmons, is now recognized.
My apologies. Mr. Reuter, what are the economic effects on communities, urban, rural, and otherwise, of such a steep decline in formation of new local financial institutions, and what are the effects on both individuals and small businesses?
The lack of de novo charters, no doubt, hurts communities. One of the questions asked earlier was, what's the difference between a large bank or regional bank and a de novo community bank? The congressman from California mentioned earlier, when a bank would start, it'd have local investors. And so when you have your primary shareholders, your initial investors in the community, it just makes a difference on what that bank can do. Our banking industry needs the very large. They handle things we can't handle, but we also need smaller banks to have a robust community.
Thank you. What has been the impact of consolidation and less competition, particularly as it relates to the drop-off and formation of new local financial institutions on depositors and on borrowers?
The consolidation has to happen. I mean, it has to be allowed in order for banks to handle the communication or the IT costs, increased compliance costs. But at the same time, we need new startups. You know, I talked earlier, or mentioned earlier, Apple started as a small company. There's a new Apple that started today somewhere out there in the technology world. Banking, we need the same thing. JP Morgan Chase does amazing things, but we need the new version of JP Morgan Chase starting in a community.
Do you think that it has to be a physical presence, or could it be technology, app-based?
It could be technology app-based or a physical presence. Depends on the needs of the community and the strategy of that bank.
Thank you. I'll stick with you. One more question. A core principle on which we can all agree is that consumers should understand the pieces of their data that are being collected and how that data is being used. But as we know, most consumers do not read the pages and pages of fine print that are provided when we sign up for a new product or service. We also know how annoying it can be to click accept cookies on every new website we open. Would you talk a little bit about how to thread the needle of making sure consumers are informed about terms and conditions in a way that provides them with a meaningful understanding of these terms and conditions?
I think the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, while it is 20 years old and needs updating, has stood the test of time and working well for banking, where we have to disclose to a customer if we're going to share their data with an unaffiliated party, and they have an option to opt out of that. I think it's worked very well for our industry.
Would you agree that technology, cybersecurity, just general internet platforms create a challenge for smaller banks that don't have the bandwidth to manage those challenges?
Absolutely. That is an additional cost to doing business.
Do you have any thoughts of how that could be mitigated through maybe some streamlined regulation to give the smaller banks a chance to not be to compete?
Absolutely. Tailoring of regulation is really important, and we've seen examples of that throughout history, and it's important going forward. The risks and the complexities of a community bank are much different than that of a larger institution, so regulation should make sense based on the size of the bank.
Sure. Ms. Lee, a question for you. I know we've touched on this before, but a topic that's front of mind right now is the concept of data portability. Would you discuss what that term means and how it can serve as a benefit to consumers?
Sure. And good to see you again. In the term of data portability, it is the ability for the consumer who should be able to control their financial data, where it goes, what services that they will be sending it to, the applications in which they can interact with. So it's the notion that, you know, for example, if they want to, you know, get a small business loan, that they have access to their cash flow, that they have a full understanding of who they are as a consumer and are able to share that and get a very competitive loan, whether it be online at their community bank or other services. And so it gives them the ability to personalize what the financial services they want to choose with, interact with, and be a part of to be able to have a fuller financial life.
And there's also value to that data to different parties. Could you speak of the ways that data is monetized?
I can speak only for our member companies, and they do not monetize off financial data. They keep it comported to kind of the delivery of service, whether that means if they use a buy now, pay later to actually fulfill the order, or if they're using it to complete the transaction on the app in which they are. So ours do not monetize off the data.
Sure, thank you. Mr. Chairman, now you're back.
Thank you very